Hi everyone, I'm Scott Stokely, and this video is about how to correctly set the angle of your backhand throw. Now, right off the bat, later on in this video, I'm going to be demonstrating and doing some slow motion breakdown using my Tour Series Castoplast stall. This is going to be available on January 11th on my website, scottstokely.net, or if you're in Europe, at discsport.se. And also, if you want to be notified every time a new product drops, get on my mailing list at scottstokely.net. Okay, so the first question is, why do you need to change the angle on your disc? Now, this might seem like an obvious question if you've been playing for a while, but if you're new, it's a very fair question to ask. It is not an uncommon misconception among newer players that you have all these discs that have all these different flight characteristics and speeds. So therefore, don't you just need to learn how to throw flat and straight? And then if you want the shot to go right, you buy a disc that goes right. You want a shot that goes left, you buy a disc that goes left. Long flying, short flying, etc. There's a problem with this philosophy. And the problem is, if you take every single disc ever made and you draw out their flight path when thrown flat and straight, you're left with a finite number of flight trajectories. There are holes and shots out there that do not match the natural flight of a disc when thrown flat. You have to, absolutely have to, be able to also manipulate the angle of the disc in addition to choosing a disc with those different characteristics. Now, there's a second reason you want to adjust the angle on a disc that does not get talked about enough, but it's a big one. And that is, changing the angle of a disc will also help you control distance. Now, please forgive me, this took me like 30 minutes to draw out. It's the extent of my artistic ability. But I made a video, I'll link below, about the number one way to control distance is choosing the slowest disc you can reach the hole with. Click on the link. I outline it pretty well, I think. But the second way to control distance is with angle. I'll show you why. Take any disc, throw it flat. Throw it the right amount of power, it flies the right distance, right? You get the shot right, the disc goes where you want it. However, you take that flat throw and throw it 10% too hard or 10% too soft, the disc goes past the basket or short of the basket a certain distance. If you take that exact same disc and you throw it with an angle, say a hyzer angle, the right amount of power, now you have to throw it harder to get it there with the angle, but you throw the right amount of power, it goes the right distance. However, because it flew at an angle 10% too hard or 10% too short, is closer to the intended target. You have a smaller margin for error when you throw the disc at an angle. So controlling distance isn't just the slowest disc, but you can also manipulate that with the angle of the disc. So you must be able to throw the disc at different angles. So then the question becomes, so now that you know why to adjust the angle on your backhand, the question becomes, what is the correct way to do it? Now, if you've watched any of my other tutorial videos, you know the answer is going to be very simple, but I always like to explain why we do it this way, because I've learned it's far more effective if you know why you're doing something than just doing it because I told you so. Also, there's going to be bad advice you'll hear at the course tomorrow or on YouTube next week. I don't want you to take my word for it. I want you to understand why this way is correct and that way is not. Okay. There are basically three ways you could adjust the angle on your backhand. The first way is the wrong way, period. And that is to adjust it with your wrist. Here's why. Take the golf disc out of your hand. Put your wrist in its natural resting position and move it back and forth. That is the way this hinge is meant to move when you throw. Now, can you adjust the angle up or adjust it down and still have that hinge move? Yes. However, all you got to do is feel. If you adjust the angle right here, you can feel it impinging when that wrist moves. If you tilt it down here, it's impinging. It's also not as strong when it's here or here as it is in its natural resting position. That's where your wrist needs to be. Now, As far as where that is for you, that's based on your body. My wrist is natural here, but I've worked with many players whose wrists naturally set right here. That's not wrong if that's where your wrist sits, but you figure out for yourself where your wrist wants to move, it stays there. So that's number one. The second way is not a rule, but rather a guideline, because sometimes there are exceptions. But that is, the second way to adjust the angle on the disc would be to lower or raise your arm. Now, the reason why this is just a guideline is because most throws you won't be doing that. Most throws, you're going to pull your backhand across your body where you have the most strength. Now, I'm going to put a link down here. I did an entire video about this, but you figure out where you're strongest. That's where the disc goes across your chest. Then you're left with number three, the correct way to adjust the angle on most backhands, and that is right here at your waist. This is the only hinge you're going to move for most backhand angle changes. Want to throw flat? You're up here. Pull across where you have the most strength. Want to throw a slight hyzer? You lean over and then pull the disc across your body where you have the most strength. Relative to your body, your arm position has not changed. Only one thing has moved, that's this hinge. This is a big hinge. It is easy to predict. It is the most effective way to adjust the angle. Now, the reason why I said that lowering or raising your arm has exceptions is because you can only go so far back or so far comfortably forward with this hinge. So at some point, to get a steep enough angle, you are going to need to lower or raise your arm. But those are situational shots. The vast majority of your backhand angle changes are going to come right here. Now, I'm going to demonstrate a couple of these in slow motion. On the first video, I'm throwing the disc flat. So this is my baseline throw. If you watch, I'm going to pull the disc across my body where I have the most strength. On the second throw, I'm going to throw a slight hyzer. Because it's a slight hyzer, I can adjust the hinge at my waist and then again pull the disc across my body where I have the most strength. Now, on the third shot, I'm going to be throwing a spike hyzer, and I can only lean over comfortably so far. So you'll see that I'm going to have to lower my arm and pull the disc across my stomach to get the added angle. So now the final question becomes, when do you make the choice to lower or raise the arm in addition to that basic hinge move? And this is how you do it. Anytime you can adjust the angle with just the waist, that's where you're going to adjust it. In fact, all you're ever going to think about and try to do is adjust it with your waist. If you are not able to set the angle you want with your waist, you will naturally, without even trying to, lower or raise your arm. You don't have to even do that part intentionally. You want to throw a disc at this angle, you can't lean backwards 45 degrees. Well, you will automatically go back as far as you can, and then this will happen naturally. It's not even something you have to think about. But that is how you adjust the angle on the disc. I got so many more tutorial videos coming. Please click the button to subscribe and hit the bell. You'll be alerted when more come out. But until next time,